Hello, it's Jang here with the other three of the Mega Construx Series 4 Halo Heroes figures. And since I've previously done the first three, at the end of this I'll be able to line them all up and show you kind of a summary of the entire series. But first, let's get into each of these. Here's the Halo 5 Wetwork Spartan with the cleaner skin or a specific color scheme on it. This one has a lot of paint applications. You see them all up and down the arms and all around the body and kind of the hip insert piece. They've done some paint in kind of a maroon color. It's not quite a dark red, it's a little bit more purplish than that, and a bunch in white, and also the stripe going down the center of the helmet, which is actually done on a bright silver coming all the way up here. You can see just a little bit of shine in that. I actually think that the white in the center of the body right around here is just a little bit overdone. If that was done in more of a medium gray or a light gray, I think it would have looked a little bit more accurate, but I think they were just limiting the number of applications here just for the sake of cost. It still looks really good, and the weapon is done pretty well. That's the Light of Urs upgraded fuel rod cannon. Here's what impresses me most about this whole figure though, is the back. All the paint applications on the back of the hip piece and also the main chest armor, that rear section with some pretty fine lines there, and it really adds a lot to the look of this thing. It's kind of a shame that from most angles, most of the time, you're not going to be able to appreciate that stuff, but you know, there are definitely situations where you'll set up a little miniature diorama or something, you know, or have kind of a versus thing going on, and you'll see the backs of figures. And this is definitely one that you kind of want to have facing away. If you have a choice between having this or something else, something more plain, facing away from you, by default, this is the one that you want to have facing away from you because it has just so much detail back there. That's really, really nice. And I also like just how opaque they went with the yellow for the Light of Urs, because you know, it's easy to let a lot of black through. You still see some black coming through kind of around some of the edges where you know the spray got a little bit thin because of the angle of where it came in, but for the most part, you know, it's a nice bright opaque yellow. And the head I think is molded well. The whole thing I think is molded quite well. I could see this being used as a base. The main chest armor especially, actually all of the armor pieces I can see being used, maybe not so much the legs, but as bases for Venator, you know, custom armor creations. You know, put on a little clay, a little putty, and start, you know, just improving upon the shape and change that up. Just good stuff. There's also paint application on the top of the helmet, which just continues across very well, and they got some fine lines on there. So this I am most happy with. Argus is the armor set used by Linda in Halo 5, and so they used the female body for this figure here, just using the exact same parts. It's easy to see this as being a male character if you just don't focus on the waist, or if you don't look at it from straight on, because it still has plenty of bulk to the armor itself. And this one has the Arestor or Arestor, or however you want to pronounce it. It has only one R in it, skin or livery paint scheme. And this is also pretty faithfully reproduced. I think this one might even look a little bit more accurate from the front than the Wetworks one did. They did a really good job on the head with the pretty crisp printing or stamping of the yellow, and they got the black, plenty of the black on there to really set things off well, and the little eyes that are done in bright silver. The base color for this one is a blue with a lot of cyan metal flake kind of look, or maybe it's the other way around. You can see a lot of cyan in it, and there's a little bit of greenishness depending upon how the light hits it. A little bit of issue with opacity to the yellow paint application just here, which is not surprising. I mean, that's tough. It's just a very thin piece that's bent all around, but I think all told, the whole thing looks pretty good. Looks pretty properly opaque. The battle rifle here has the Prestige skin on it, which looks really good. Looks pretty perfect to me for this scale. This figure does not have any printing around the back. Now, they do have the stamps on the legs, the upper leg armor pieces on both sides, so there and there both. but none of the nice stuff, the great stuff that the Wetworks one did around the back. And this is the norm. This is kind of what you expect for these, to not see much printing from the back. They don't have anything on the shoulders here, but still, this is a very striking looking character. Good color scheme, really stands out from pretty much everything that they've done before. So I think this was well chosen and also looks pretty good. And then here's Veronica Dare from ODST, finally. However, this one does use the exact same head mold as the last Spartan Palmer from Halo Heroes. So you recognize the head, but not for the right reasons. I understand why they would use the exact same head. I mean, it has kind of the same design of hair, the same style of hair. The face shape should be quite different, but let's be honest, when you look at the action, I mean, this right here, this in-game, not really in-game, but based on the in-game model picture, is a very high resolution, very heavily touched up version of the model that was actually used for the action sequences in-game, and it still looks creepy as sin. So if they had gotten it to look just like this, you would have a toy, a small collectible, that looked creepy as sin. I don't know which is better. At least then it would have been more accurate to this character, but was it worth it for them to make an entirely new mold just for this one character? I don't know. Either way, it's disappointing. It was doomed to be disappointing. Sorry, I've got this just a little bit off right there, but they made a choice, they went with it, and this is what we get. Glad to get the character officially. I think that the kind of teal areas, the slate to teal areas, especially on the chest armor, could have been more so, could have been more teal, could have been more cyan, a little brighter, a little more pop, I think would have made more sense. Right now, the paint application that's on there doesn't stand out much from the gray base color of the whole thing. You see that the paint continues around to the back, just the straps up at the top, and then they used the similar color for the lower arms, lower legs, and the upper leg armor pieces. This comes with the SOCOM pistol. This one actually has just a slightly, ever so slightly malformed hand. It doesn't hold on to the pistol quite as well as I would like. You see just a little bit of gapping in there, but it does hold on to it at least, so it's not one of those ones where it's going to break the hand apart or anything like that, but just could have been a little bit better. Every once in a while those are still off a bit. And it does come with a helmet. It comes with the Recon helmet. This is on a female torso, so when you put the helmet on, you definitely do see, I'd say, more with this than you did with the Spartans, just how this is a female figure. The body looks much smaller here, the body looks much thinner, and I think that really works out well with the non-Spartan design and proportions overall with the armor here. So I think that looks really good, and the paint applications for the helmet are pretty good. They went just a little bit high in the corners. That could be just scraped off a little bit. It's really what you need to do, take off a little bit of that gold in there, or just go back with a super fine Sharpie marker to touch that up. And different people will get different ones. It won't always be consistent, but I think the proportions look really good, and overall the figure looks pretty good. It's just a disappointment with the head, which again, I think it would have been a disappointment even if they did make it look just like it did in game, which was just not very good. So this is where we end up with all of Halo Heroes Series 4, and out of the 6, I'm gonna have to say my personal surprise favorite is that Wetwork Spartan. Just looks good overall, even though it's not one of the named characters. It's just a generic character, a generic figure, but I think it looks really good, and they just did everything right with it. My second favorite would have to be Decimus. He needs to be bigger, but still a pretty good looking figure. Has some good paint applications on there. Looks interesting to me. Let me know which of these is your favorite, or what are your top 3 maybe, and at least one of your least favorite out of the 6. Also, let me know what you think of this series on the whole relative to the others. I think this is one of the stronger series on the whole because they did bring in so much in the way of paint applications, and they're applied well. They're done quite well. I do very much appreciate getting another AI with Captain Cutter, even though it's just using the same mold that they used for Cortana and Serena, just the same general one. It's supposed to be Isabel now, but I like those, little extra collectible things that are small scaled relative to the figures themselves, but are still useful in different scenarios. But overall, I think they did well. I think the biggest miss here is just the head of Dare, which, like I said, just was kind of doomed to be bad no matter what, in one way or another. So let me know your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. I look forward to your feedback, and I'll talk to you again soon.
You gotta quit talking in Sangheili, okay? You gotta talk human. I don't understand Sangheili. All I hear is work, work, work.